Hello, Year 4, and welcome to day 32 of our home learning. It is Tuesday, the 2nd of March 2021. I can't wait for you to see the surprise that we have at the end of the week, where you will have a competition that will run on our Facebook page, and you will get further information later in the week. It is so funny. Anyway, let's get going. Okay, so early morning work. At hockey practice, we are learning our Indian dribble so we can trick our defenders. It is really difficult. Okay, so pause the video now and then write that sentence down as it is. Okay, so at hockey practice, we are learning our Indian dribble so we can trick our defenders. It is really difficult. So number 1, we learned about this last week. Identify part of the sentence in the present progressive tense. Then number 2, rectify a grammatical error. Now that means there's an error in the sentence and you've got to put it right. You have got to then, for number 3, identify the coordinating conjunction. And then number 4, use a conjunction to link the two main clauses. And then number 5, identify an adjective. So pause the video now whilst you do that for me, please. Okay, so at hockey practice, we are learning our Indian dribble so we can trick our defenders. It is really difficult. Okay, so the first question was to identify the sentence that is in the present progressive, and that is are learning. So it's we are learning. The grammatical error, a Indian dribble, and if you listened, I found that really difficult to say. It's supposed to be an Indian dribble because Indian begins with a vowel. So we make the a into an. Then you needed to look at the coordinating conjunction, and that is the word so. And then you had number 4 was to use a conjunction to join the two sentences together. So you could have used but, however, and. So at hockey practice, we are learning an Indian dribble so we can trick our defenders. But it is really difficult. And then the last one is to identify an adjective. Hockey, because that's describing the practice. And Indian dribble. That one was really tricky, that last one. Okay, so how did you do? Okay, so back to our English, and we've been reading How to Train Your Dragon, written by Cressida Cowell. So we're going to read chapter 8 and 9. So can you get your chapters, please, and turn to chapter 8, which is page 95. Hiccup was still pretty certain, knowing dragons as he did, that yelling was the easiest method of training them. So over the next couple of weeks, he tried yelling at Toothless to see if he could make it work. He tried yelling loudly, firmly, strictly. He looked as cross as he could, but Toothless wouldn't take him seriously. Hiccup finally gave up on the yelling when Toothless stole a kipper off his plate one morning at breakfast. Hiccup let out his most fierce and frightening yell, and Toothless just gave him a wicked look and knocked everything else on the floor with one swipe of his tail. That was it with the yelling as far as Hiccup was concerned. "Okay then," said Hiccup, "I'll try going to the other extreme." So instead of yelling, he's going the other way. So he was as nice to Toothless as he possibly could. He gave Toothless the comfiest bit of the bed and then lay dangerously balanced on the edge of it himself. He fed him as much kipper and lobster as he wanted. He only did this once, though, as the little dragon just went on eating until he had made himself thoroughly sick. He played games with him for hours and hours. He told him jokes. He brought him mice to eat. He scratched the bit that Toothless couldn't quite reach in between the spokes on his back. He made that dragon's life as close to dragon heaven as he possibly could. By mid-February, the winter was coming to an end on Berk, and the snowy season had turned into the rainy season. It was the kind of weather where your clothes never got dry no matter what. Hiccup would hang up his sodden tunic on a chair in front of the fire before going to bed at night, and in the morning it would still be wet. Warm and wet rather than cold and wet, but wet nonetheless. The ground all around the village had turned into knee-deep mud. "What in Warden's name are you doing?" asked Fishlegs when he came across Hiccup digging a large hole just outside the house. "Building a mud wallow for Toothless," panted Hiccup. "You spoil that dragon, you really do," said Fishlegs, shaking his head. "It's psychology, you see," said Hiccup. "It's clever and it's subtle, not like that caveman man yelling you're doing with Horrorcow." Fishlegs had named his dragon Horrorcow. The horror bit was to make the poor creature at least sound a bit frightening. The cow bit was because for a dragon she really was remarkably like a cow. She was a large, peaceful, brown creature with an easy-going nature. Fishlegs suspected she might even be vegetarian. "I'm always catching her nibbling at the woodwork," he complained. "Blood, Horrorcow, blood, that's what you should want." Nonetheless, maybe Fishlegs was a better yeller than Hiccup, or maybe Horrorcow was a lazier and more obliging character than Toothless, but Horrorcow was proven very easy to train by the yelling method. "Okay, Toothless, it's ready," said Hiccup. "Get yourself a good wallow." Toothless stopped trying to catch balls and leapt into the mud. He rolled over and over in the oozy gunge, spreading out his wings and squirming happily. "I'm bonding with him," said Hiccup, "so he'll want to do what I say." "Hiccup," said Fishlegs, as Toothless sucked up a good mouthful of the mud and spat it out straight into Hiccup's face. "I may not know much about dragons, but I do know that they are the most selfish creatures on earth. No dragon is ever going to do what you want out of gratitude. Dragons do not know what gratitude is. Give up. This will never work." "The thing about us dragons," said Toothless helpfully, "is we're survivors. We're not like soppy cats or dumb dogs falling in love with their masters and yucky things like that. Only reason we ever do what a man wants is because he is bigger than us and gives us food." "What's he saying?" asked Fishlegs. "Pretty much what you're saying," said Hiccup. Never trust a dragon," said Toothless cheerfully, hopping out of the wallow and helping himself to one of the winkles that Hiccup had found for him. Toothless was particularly fond of winkles. Just like picking your nose, he said. That's what my mother taught me in the nest, and she should know. Hiccup sighed. It was true. Toothless was cute to look at and very good company, if a little demanding. However, you only had to look into his big, innocent, heavy-lashed eyes to realise that he was totally without morals. The eyes were ancient, the eyes of a killer. You might as well ask a crocodile or a shark to be your friend. Hiccup wiped the mud off his face. I'll think of something else, said Hiccup. February turned into March and Hiccup was still thinking. A few flowers made the mistake of appearing and were immediately blasted out of existence by a couple of hard frosts that had kept themselves back for this very purpose. Right, I want you to pause the video now and read up to chapter 9. Okay, so you've read all of chapter 8. Let's start reading chapter 9. Fear, vanity, revenge and silly jokes. March turned into April and April turned into May. After Fireworm's remark about the pathetic bunny rabbit, Toothless never pooed in the kitchen again. But Hiccup hadn't made any further progress in training him. It was still raining, but it was a warm rain. The wind was blowing, but it was a less furious wind. It was just about possible to stand upright. The gulls' eggs were hatching on the rocks, and the parents' gulls dive-bombed Hiccup and Fishlegs when they came to the long beach to practice. "Kill, Horrorcow, kill," said Fishlegs to Horrorcow, who was calmly perched on his shoulder. You could have that black-bearded gull for breakfast. He's barely half your size. Honestly, Hiccup, I give up. I don't know how I'm going to pass the hunting section of the test. Horrorcow just doesn't have the killer instinct. She'd never survive in the wild. Hiccup laughed hollowly. You think you've got problems? Toothless and I are failing right from the beginning. The basic obedience commands, the retrieval, the compulsory exercises, the hunting, the lot. It can't be that bad, said Fishlegs. Watch, said Hiccup. The boys moved along the beach a bit out of the range of the gulls. They started practicing the most basic command of all. Go. The dragon was supposed to stand bolt upright on the handler's outstretched arm. The handler would then bark the command as loudly as possible, while simultaneously lifting his arm to fling the dragon into the air. The dragon was supposed to soar gracefully into flight when the handler's arm reached its highest point. Horrorcow yawned, scratched, and slowly flapped off, grumbling to himself. Toothless was even less obedient. Go! Yelled Hiccup. Hiccup flung his arm up. Toothless hung on. I said, go! Hiccup repeated in frustration. Why? Go, shouted Toothless, gripping even tighter. Just go, 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 screamed Hiccup, flapping his arm up and down frantically, with Toothless hanging on to it for dear life. Toothless stayed. Toothless, said Hiccup as reasonably as he could, please go. If you don't start going when I tell you to, we are both going to be thrown into exile. But I don't want to go, Toothless pointed out equally reasonably. Fishlegs watched the whole process in appalled amazement. You really do have problems, he said in an awed voice. Yep, said Hiccup. He finally managed to uncurl Toothless's claws, which had relaxed their grip for a second and pushed him off. Toothless landed on the sand with a squeal of outrage and immediately attached himself to Hiccup's leg, getting a pretty good grip on the sandals with his talons and wrapping his wings around Hiccup's calf. No, not going, said Toothless stubbornly. It can't get much worse than this, said Hiccup, so I'm going to try a new track. He took out the notebook in which he had been jotting down all he knew about dragons in the hope that it might be useful. Dragon motivation, Hiccup read aloud. 1. Gratitude. Hiccup sighed. 2. Fear. That works, but I can't do it. 3, 4, 5. Greed, vanity, and revenge. Those were all worth a try. 6. Jokes and riddling talk, only if I'm desperate. This has got to be a first, drawled Fishlegs, but I'm with Gobber the Belch on this one. Why don't you just yell a bit louder? And what I want you to do now is complete reading chapter 9. Come back to me when you have finished that, please. Okay, so it's Tuesday the 2nd of March. I don't know why I've done December. Oh my goodness, I do apologise. So it's Tuesday the 2nd of March 2021 and your target is I can write a diary entry. Now, we are going to write a recount, which is a diary about how Toothless feels when he catches his fish and why he does not take any notice of Hiccup. Okay, so all about those 2 chapters that we have just written. So the features of a diary entry. We have first person, so that means you are in it. You are Hiccup, or whoever you're writing the diary entry for. Chronological order, that means it's in time order. What happened first and next. I would like to see some fronted adverbials to show the passing of time or any fronted adverbials. Because it's a recount, a diary entry, it's always written in the past tense because it's already happened. Now, this is a diary, so it's informal. Okay, so you can use contractions like can't and didn't. It can be quite chatty language. If you use a rhetorical question where you're asking a question but you don't really want the answer back. We have different sentence types. I want your spelling to be as good as you possibly can. Your handwriting needs to be joined and legible, and it needs to look the same as what we would expect at school. Okay, I don't want to see spiders crawling across the page. Okay, correctly formed letters. You could also put in there some words to show your emotions, your motive vocabulary. Okay, so this is what I've done so far. So I'll start with Dear Diary. Oh, what a day. Did you know that I caught my first fish today? It's a miracle. I know I don't usually do as I am told, as why should I? Hiccup needs to lighten up. He needs to calm down. So I've done mine from the point of view as Toothless. Okay? Yesterday, Hiccup was so funny when he was trying to train me. You should have heard him shouting at me just because I like to do my own thing. I know I am lazy, but who wants to go and do this and do that? Hiccup has pleaded with me as to do as I'm told, otherwise we will be thrown in exile. As if that will happen. Fishlegs, Hiccup's friend, wasn't very supportive of me either. He had told Hiccup that he had his work cut out with me. Thanks. He tried to persuade me with lobsters to do as I was told, but refused to let me tease them and kill them. Okay, so as you can see, I've got some of the words in colour. Yeah, I've got I in colour to show that it is first person. Okay, I have got yesterday, which is my fronted adverbial. I've got was, heard, pleaded, and liked, and they show that my writing is in past tense. Hiccup needs to lighten up. He needs to calm down, and there's my informal piece of writing. And did you know that I caught my first fish today? And there's my rhetorical question. Okay, so have another read of that. Pause the video now so that you can see how I've started my diary. Okay, so your task is to write your own diary entry. I've copied down the language features that you need to include. Okay, so if you can write today's date, Tuesday the 2nd of March 2021, and the target, I can write a diary entry. And then you need to get going with your work and get that finished today, please. About a page with paragraphs, please. Remember the spelling and the handwriting and make sure it's making sense. So pause the video now. Okay, so we have our maths session now. Okay, let's see how good we are in remembering what we have been learning to do. So we're looking at digital and analog times, weren't we, yesterday? And we were learning about from 12 o'clock midnight up until 12 o'clock dinner time, and that was morning, so it was AM. Okay, now if you have a look on my slide here, I've got AM, 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 and that means it's in the morning. So let's have a look at the problem. Grayson arrives at the dog show at the time shown on the analog clock. He thinks he's on time to watch agility. Okay then, so first of all, what we need to do, it's saying at the time shown on the analog clock, we need to know what time that is. So I wonder if you can think about what time that would be. So I know the hour hand is between 10 and 11, so it is 10. And I'm going to write it as a digital time. There's my colon. Then I need to look at the long hand, which is the minute hand. And I know I've got 5, 10, 15, 20. And I've got 1, 2, 3. So it's 10, 23. Okay, so what does the question ask again? Can you remember? Grayson arrives at the dog show at the time shown on the analog clock, and we said that was 10:23. He thinks he's on time to watch agility. So I'm going to look at the events and I'm going to find the word agility. And it's saying that it's 10:33. Okay, so which one comes first, 10:23 or 10:33? Well, I know 10:33. If 10:33 was on a analog clock, it would look something like, let me do that again. That. So, which one comes first? Yeah, 10:23 comes before 10:33. So, would he be on time to go to watch Agility? Let's find out. He is on time to watch Agility because or as, and what would the answer be? Shout it to your computer. Yeah, let's have a look. So Grayson is on time to watch the Agility as he is 10 minutes early. So the time difference between 10:23 when he arrives and 10:33 when Agility starts is 10 minutes. Okay, so let's have a look at this one here. And it's asking which time is the earliest and the latest. Now, they're all different. So what do you think we have to do? Yeah, we have to make them all the same. Now, it is easier if we write the 4 analog clocks as 4 digital times. So let's have a look at the first one. So the hour hand is pointing between the 6 and the 7, and the minute hand is pointing to number 6. So I would say that is all 6, because there's my hours and my colon, and then it's all 6. Ooh. Excellent. Now, let's have a look at the PM times. Okay? So I know that it is 10, it's after 10 p.m. So if I was to write that, and we know that's AM, that's in the morning. So I'll just put my AM there. And that is 10 39 p.m. Then got this one here. It's between 10 and 11. So it's 10 and my colon. And that would be 47. And this one is in the morning because it's got AM, and it's 6:12. So we have to decide out of which of those times is the and the 4 in the middle is the earliest. So it's going to be an AM because it's in the morning. Okay, so let's have a look at the AM ones. We have 6:12, 6:18. Which one is the earliest out of those two? 6:12, because 12 minutes is less than 18. So then I've got 6:22. 6:12 comes before 6:22 because 12 is lower than 22. and I've got 6:06 a.m. So it's 6:06. Which one is the earliest? Is it 6:12 or 6:06? Yeah, you're right. It's 6:06. So this one is the earliest. And now we need to know which is the latest. Okay, so we've got AM, which is morning, and PM, which is afternoon and night time. Okay, so we've got 9:59 and 10:24. Which one is the latest there? Yeah, it's 10:24. I've got 10:39 p.m. and 10:24. Which one is the latest? It's 10:39. Then I've got 10:47 p.m. Yeah. So we're saying this one is the latest. Let me see if we have got it right. We sure have. Yeehaw! Okay, now, these clocks both show the same time. What could the missing minute hand and hour be? So, we've got the minutes on here, the hour hand, on here because it is the shorthand. It is between 6 and 7, so what hour would go here? It would be 06. Okay, now on the digital time we have 53, so I have to work out where 53 is, and then I have to draw my hand in. Remember, that one has to be the longest. Let's see how well we have done on that one. We are absolute stars. Okay, what you need to do is you need to have a look in your next maths pack, in the maths pack, and you will have 3 sheets from Classroom Secrets. Now, I'm sure you're being very sensible and you're choosing one that is going to challenge you. Okay? Don't just do the easiest one. You should be doing the second set of questions or the third set. If you leave everything else now, and you can start going. Okay? Brilliant. Okay, so yesterday we planned a story, didn't we, using the careers and the people who've helped us during the pandemic. Now, your story, you are going to use that to write your own story. And this is all your work. Okay, so your success criteria, what do you need to make sure that you include? You need to include an interesting theme, an introduction. So the introduction is where you explain who the characters are, what are they like, you describe them. Also in the introduction you might describe the setting where the story takes place. The next one we have is a problem. So what is the big thing that happens? Then you have a resolution, which is towards the end of a story, and you solve the problem. I would like you to use fronted adverbials, different sentence types, and direct speech between to show what's being said and use the correct punctuation. Okay? So we planned a story about an everyday hero. I would like you to take 3 minutes now just to look back through your plan. So pause the video now until you have completed that. Okay, so the features of a story. So you have the introduction where we've talked about where the story's set. You're introducing your characters. Sometimes you might have a build-up. So there might be a lot of information there to help you. So the build-up gives the reader more information about the characters, and you begin to introduce what the problem could be. You have the actual problem, so that's the big thing that's happened. And you have to tell your reader what problem must be overcome. You've then got a climax, which is the big thing that happens before the problem is solved, maybe. Okay? And at the end, you have the resolution and the ending, and that's how the problem's been solved, and it's the ending of your story. Okay? You've got to keep your readers hanging on. Okay, so what you need to do now is you need to write your own story doing from one of the people that have helped you. So look at your character that you had. So you need to pause the video now, please. Okay, so your book character. Once you finished your recount and you're going to make your book character, you're going to enjoy it. So towards the end of the week, we'll be having a big competition for you all. And I've already explained there'll be more dishes to come out. Okay? So, and then once you finish, make your book, continue to make your book character. I hope you're enjoying yourself. I can't wait to see you all, but oh my goodness, we're going to be working hard. Make sure you've completed every piece of work, please. And it's neat and it's tidy. Do you all understand?